You're listening to Winnipeg's Classic 107. My name is Simon Rusnak. Virtuosi Concerts opens their 2023-24 season by welcoming the charismatic and compelling Canadian cellist Stéphane Tétreault, joined in concert by pianist Sandra Murray. In partnership with Prairie Debut, the voice of the cello explores the rich capabilities of the beloved instrument and the expressive, articulate delivery that has become a hallmark of Tetrault's playing. I'm thrilled to say Stéphane Tétreault has joined me in the Classic 107 studio. Welcome back.
Hello, Simon. How are you?
I am doing very well. I'm so thrilled that you're back with us here in Winnipeg, Stéphane. You were last here in 2019 ahead of your Winnipeg Symphony Orchestra debut. It's been a few years. You changed your hair. I grew a beard, and you also happened to drop 3 stellar CDs since then. You were awarded the 2022 Prix Opus Performer of the Year, and you've continued to perform and tour, collaborate, and make music. I'm curious, Stéphane, let's start off by talking. How would you characterize the last few years for you as an artist?
Oh, they were very interesting. Well, I think on the first part, they were interesting for everyone with COVID. Yeah. So I'm glad to be touring again. Glad to be traveling again. Being back in Winnipeg is great because for a while we weren't sure when that would start up again. Mm-hmm. So it's great to be here. It's been a very active few years despite the pandemic. But as you said, quite a few recordings, a lot of online concerts, and as of a year or a year and a half or so now, we've been touring again.
When you were last in studio, we spoke about your career, your studies with the famed Yuli Turovsky, your development as a young artist, and how before all of that, you came to the cello through bribery. And if people want to learn the story, they could go to the website classic107.com. But that had me sort of thinking about things because you've been at this for a number of years now. You first really gained attention in 2007, winning the Standard Life Montreal Symphony Orchestra competition. I want to talk about kind of this period of the last few years, especially as you've navigated the transition from young artist Stéphane Tétreault to artist Stéphane Tétreault, because I'm not really sure when that transition happens. Is it fair to say that it has for you?
Well, it's a good point because, you mentioned Yuli Turovsky and how I started with him when I was 9 years old. And he once told my father when I was very young, saying, oh, yeah, Stéphane, is a nice little prodigy and, it's very cute and everybody thinks he's cute and great. But one day he'll have to become an artist. And that was, as Yuli was, he was very to the point, but very kind, always very kind. But I think that it is true to say that at some point you have to find your inner voice. Interestingly enough, the concert is called The Voice of the Cello, but I think finding one's inner voice as an artist is very important. And I think that's something that, happens over a number of years. So I can't qualify, or quantify when exactly that happened. But I know that it's a very long process, but thank you for the compliment.
Well, I was just thinking about it too, because it was earlier this year that you also entered a new decade. Welcome to the 30s. It's great, at least thus far for me.
It's lots of fun.
Yeah, wishing the same thing for you. And you sort of touched on exactly what I wanted to get to. This program is titled The Voice of the Cello, but your own musical voice as an artist. Can you talk more about that? How you've noticed how it's changed, or maybe that's not the right word. Maybe how
evolved,
it's developed or evolved. Yeah.
I think that finding one's voice is crucial, as I said, to any artist. But in my case, there was a lot of influence from a bunch of inspiring musicians, such as Valérie Milo and Antoine Barré, whom we just heard. But there have been a number of artists who have inspired me to go just a little bit further with my expression in music. I'm trying to find my individuality. All of that has been very inspiring for me. And so, bottom line, it comes down to the artist you are and trying to find how to be the most authentic expression of oneself. Yeah. But I've always been very inspired by the people around me and, doing chamber music like we'll be doing here in Winnipeg, or being with an orchestra, which is for me chamber music on this like large spectrum. So all of that is very stimulating for me.
As much as we're talking about evolution and change in terms of your voice, one constant has been your actual instrumental voice, the instrument on which you perform, the 1707 famed Countess, considered to be one of the greatest Strad cellos in the world, famously owned by Niccolo Paganini and before you, Bernard Greenhouse. You've been performing with this instrument for over a decade now, is that right?
Absolutely. I've been performing with it for 12 years already. So I first had the chance of playing it when I was 18. So now I'm in, the new decade, 30. So it's been 12 years. It's been, an amazing evolution in, this respect as well. It's really special to be able to evolve and to find one's voice on the same instrument. I consider myself very lucky to have, the same instrument day in, day out, and to be able to evolve together. And especially me being at, at the specific height and quality of the instrument. I mean, the instrument's amazing. I have to sort of live up to the instrument, but it's very special, and it's quite an experience being able to evolve with such an amazing cello.
So for those who aren't musicians, maybe just kind of music admirers, that is such a special partnership between the musician and the instrument, and yours is an instrument that, as you say, it can almost bring out more of your voice because it's up to the task, isn't it? It can keep growing with you and almost encouraging you in a way.
I mean, instruments of that time and of that quality definitely think they have a soul. There's something a little bit cliche about that, but there is definitely a voice to be found and to be nurtured and to be expressed throughout an instrument of that quality. So I think that being able to evolve for me with that instrument has taught me a lot. It's been very enriching, very formative, and all of that is very special. But the instrument itself has more than 300 years of history, and so to be able to be a small part of that history is really a privilege.
Well, so thrilled with what you're doing with that instrument because it truly is a wonderful artistry that you put out there. And speaking of partners, you're going to be joined in this performance, in this tour, by Sandra Murray. Have you two performed together often?
Quite a bit, yeah.
Can you tell us more about that relationship?
Well, the first time we ever performed together, I was 10 years old.
I was wondering if it was one of those stories.
10 years old.
What do you remember about that?
Well, I remember I was at the Orford Academy back in Quebec, and I was, much too young to participate in the academy, given that everyone was either in their late teens or in their 20s, and I was 10 years old. And so I had won a prize to have, a free week at the academy. I was able to study with a cellist there, and so that was very inspiring. But Sandra Murray was the pianist for the class for the entire week. And I remember we played a couple of concerts together. At that point I was playing maybe 10 minutes on stage, but still, we were still playing concerts together. And I remember her, her being so accommodating and so supportive and so kind. And as well as being an outstanding, pianist. And so that was very, very special to live through. And I remember feeling as though I wasn't really, at my place at 10 years old, playing alongside these fantastic cellists of 22 years old. But she made me feel right at home.
And what a beautiful quality that is. Of a musician, but not only a musician, but a partner up on stage. And this is why she's such a sought-after chamber musician and collaborator.
Exactly.
Can we talk about the program that you've put together? Because it begins with Bach, the iconic prelude to the first cello suite, and then you jump into the 19th and 20th centuries with French, Spanish, and a few Slavic composers. I'm curious about that sort of latter part, the 19th, 20th centuries. Can we talk about it more broadly, the romantic, late romantic, and what inspired you to feature this particular period so prominently in the program?
So I think that those composers, with the title we gave to the concert, The Voice of the Cello, I think that the composers themselves had to find their own voice and their own voice through the cello. So via the cello, they were able to express various emotions, which is the case of I think most composers, obviously. But in this case, what's very special is I think the juxtaposition between the French and Spanish repertoire or the Spanish-inspired repertoire. So there are a couple of Russian pieces, but that are highly inspired by Spanish music and Spanish influence. So the first part of the program, I mean, beginning with the Bach prelude is also a way just to be able to live the sound of the cello just by itself for just 3 minutes for the audience and for me, just to get acquainted with the space and with the audience. And then we jump into French music, namely some forêt, which is just a quintessential romantic sound, for the cello. And then later on in the program, in the second half, we go into Spanish repertoire, which is, very flamboyant, very enthusiastic, very passionate. But in every case, I think with the works on the program, we get a little bit closer to the voice of the cello. So that was the objective. I hope it'll work out.
I mean, I've been glancing through the program, and I think you've already accomplished it, and the concert hasn't even happened yet, happening tonight. But as you say, I mean, there's the Elegie of Gabriel Fauré, which is just a stunning work. And then to give listeners a little bit more context, the Allegro Appassionato by Saint-Saëns, the Meditation from Thais, music of Jules Massenet, the Intermezzo from Goyescas by Granados. This is all very beautiful and very lyrical music that lets the cello, I mean, to really embrace this voice of the cello idea, it lets the cello sing, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. It definitely lets the cello sing. It lets the cello touch the audience, I hope. I mean, it lets the cello be very emotional, very expressive. And, throughout all of that, there are some virtuosic moments that are very striking. And the implication of the piano, namely Sandra at the piano in this case, is very poignant and is very important as well. So, I mean, with the exception of the Bach, none of these pieces can work as solo cello. You really need to have a very close collaboration.
So this is a program that you're going to be living with for the next little while. You'll be taking the show on the road, as I mentioned in the intro. I was going to say, the concert presented in partnership with Prairie Debut. You must be looking forward to making your way across Manitoba, Saskatchewan, and Alberta. It's going to be quite the trip.
It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to the driving.
We were talking about that. And pretty flat. Yeah, pretty flat.
The various flights as well, when I won't be driving. But I'm especially looking forward to meeting, all the Prairie audiences. It's been a while since I've been back, namely in Winnipeg, but a little bit elsewhere as well. And so it's just great to be back and to see that life is, coming back to normal, that we're able to present concerts and we're able to, I think, live concert experiences together, because, I mean, we've said it a million times, but it's true that online concerts are fun, but there's nothing like living the experience in the concert hall together. It's like this huge communion and sharing of energies. And I sound cliche this morning, but it's a very special experience.
It is. I mean, it might be cliche, but it's true. It's a cliche for a reason. A special experience indeed. Wishing you safe travels and wishing you a wonderful performance tonight. 7:30 p.m. St. Andrews, River Heights United Church. Tickets available online at virtuosiconcerts.ca. Stéphane Tétreault, Sandra Murray together perform The Voice of the Cello, the first concert in the Virtuosi season. And, we actually happen to have a couple pairs of tickets to give away. So when you hear the music come on, the number to call, 204-336-1071. Stéphane, thanks for joining me.
Thank you so much.